Good morning, dear students. Hope all of you are doing good, right? I think you must be waiting for the explanation of the remaining topic. Is it so? Okay, let me start it now, students. Today we will start with dispersal of seeds. Dispersal. Dispersal means scattering or spreading. That means scattering of seeds or spreading of seeds. Right? How do seeds get dispersed? Seed dispersal is actually the movement, spread or transport of seeds away from the parent plant. And the seeds are dispersed in different ways. We all know that plants cannot walk from one place to another. And if all the seeds fall and grow near the parent plant, none of them will get sufficient place and will fail to grow into big and strong plants. Hence, nature has arranged different methods for spreading these seeds to far off places, and that is known as dispersal of seeds. The seeds are dispersed to different places by means of water, wind, animals, and explosion also. Explosion of the fruit. So let me explain them one by one. First of all, it's wind. Some seeds are very light and have hair or wings that help them to fly away to far off places. You might have seen many seeds flying in the air during summers, white color. Have you experienced such? I think so, yeah. In Greater Noida we have seen those seeds number of times. Right? Those are the seeds which get dispersed by means of wind. Examples are cotton, hornbeam, ash and sycamore. Right? Because these seeds are very light and wind carries them away. Next one, it's water. Some seeds have the ability to float on water. They can float. And water carries these seeds to far off banks and shores. Right? We can take the example of coconut fruit. All of you know that coconut fruit is covered with fiber that enables it to float on water. And this coconut fruit travels across seas and oceans to shores thousands and thousands of kilometers away and germinates under suitable conditions. All of you are aware about the suitable conditions. We had discussed it in the previous audio also, that a seed needs different factors to germinate, right? So right now I don't think there's a need to explain it again. Now next one is animals. Some seeds have hooks or spines which get stuck to the skin or hair of animals and get carried away to other places. Wherever the animal goes, it carries the seeds along, right? And wherever those seeds fall, if those seeds will get suitable conditions, they will germinate. That's why we can see number of trees, small trees and all these on the roadsides. No one is going over there for plants and trees. We can say for trees, government is going for that. But for small plants and those weeds, it all happens to this dispersal of seeds. Right? Similarly, some animals and birds eat the fruits such as mangoes, orange, pears, guavas. But they throw their seeds. They throw them away. These seeds also grow into plants if they get proper environment. Environment is most important. Right? Some seeds are small and are swallowed with the fruit pulp. But the birds are not able to digest it. Right? Birds can't digest the seeds and they excrete it out as their excretory waste. All of you are aware about the excretory waste, isn't it, students? Every human being excretes the waste out of the body because these are toxics of the body. We have to excrete it out. In the same way, birds also excrete out those undigested seeds. And if those undigested seeds get the proper environment, they will also germinate. Now next one is explosion. Some plants disperse from their seeds by way of explosion. Their fruits explode when the pods become dry. If we will leave bean or pea on the plant for a long time, the pod will dry. All of you know now that beans and peas are there in the pods, right? So if we will leave them on the plants, they will dry. The pods, the green pods, they become brownish, right? And then they burst open. Bursting open is explosion, right? They burst open and the seeds spread here and there. Examples are peas, grams and beans. I hope that this dispersal is clear to you, students. Now the next topic. With a smile on your face, don't feel bored, right? So growth of new plants from plant parts. Growth of new plants from plant parts. That means not only seeds. It's not always that every plant grows from a seed, right? There are plants that do not depend on the seeds to grow, as they are capable of growing new plants from their different parts, such as roots, stems and leaves. That means root, stem and leaves, they are also capable of growing a new plant. Let's first of all discuss growth of new plants from stem. Plants like sugarcane, money plant and rose grow from the stem. Money plant and rose, I think it's with us in our houses, in the pots, in our drawing rooms, right? Isn't it, students? All of you, I think, might have seen this money plant and rose in your surroundings. So for these plants, we just go for the stem cutting, right? Stem cutting, and we can sow that stem cutting in the soil, and that stem cutting will grow into a new plant. For this, we don't need any seed, right? Potato, onion and ginger plants also grow from their underground stems. Is it clear, students? Now, next one is growth of new plants from roots. Some plants such as sweet potato, turnip and carrot grow from their underground, grow from their roots, right? Potato, turnip, carrot grow from roots. Their thick and swollen roots store the food, and that food is used for the growth of new baby plants. Clear, students? Now let's move further. Growth of new plants from the leaves. The leaves of some plants grow new baby plants. Try to understand the leaves. Leaves of some plants grow new baby plants. Example are begonia, bryophyllum and streptocarpus. There are some plants which grow new plants from their leaves. When the mother leaf comes in contact with soil, it produces tiny plants on its margins. Sometimes the leaves of these plants produce new plants, and all surprisingly without coming in contact with soil. Without coming in contact with soil, leaves can also produce new plants. This is all nature, right? So be happy with it, right? These days you have a lot of time. Enjoy the nature, right, students? Now let's move further. Our next topic is growing plants as part of agriculture. Now this agriculture is a new term for you. I think so. Maybe you have heard or maybe not. So let me explain. Growing plants on a large scale is known as agriculture. When we grow plants on a large scale, when farmers grow plants on a large scale, it's not our gardening that we have a small area in front of the house. That's not agriculture. Growing plants on a large scale to feed millions of people, that is agriculture. We have a department, agricultural department, right? And Government of India is looking after that because they have to feed millions of people, right, students? So this department is looking about the needs of the people. Whether it's cereals, it's pulses, it's veggies, everything they are looking after. To grow healthy and strong plants. Now agriculture is there, but we need healthy and strong plants. And for healthy and strong plants, what do we need? Yeah, soil is needed. Fertile soil is needed. Soil is prepared by mixing manure and fertilizer. Now two terms over here, manure and fertilizer. Now let me explain your manure first. Manure is natural product, mostly derived from dead leaves and animal excreta. Animal excreta, you understand, the excretory waste of the animals and dead leaves. It's a natural one. So it increases the natural strength of the soil to grow healthy plants. Again I am repeating, manure is natural product which is mostly derived from dead leaves and animal excreta, and it increases the natural strength of the plant, of the soil. Right? When soil is strong, soil is healthy, automatically plant will be healthy. Isn't it? Now let's move on to fertilizers. Fertilizers are chemical products made in factories. Right? There are factories for that, and with chemicals they are making fertilizers. And I think you can very well understand, if a thing is made in factories using chemicals, can it give more strength to the plants? No. It provides artificial strength to the plants. Right? I can just explain it in simple way, students. Try to understand it. Manure, natural one, fertilizer, factory made. Right? It's same as your mama is cooking nutritious and healthy food for you, isn't it? Nowadays you must be having yummy food, whatever mama is cooking. Right? That you can take as manure. And your chips, your soft drinks, your colas, your other burgers, pizzas, pastas, whatever you are taking, all those things you can keep in fertilizer. Right? Your mama's healthy diet and the things, the junk food we can say, which you like. Now you yourself can understand which is healthy for you. I think you are more intelligent, you can understand it much betterly, that the food cooked by your mama, the nutritious one, right, that is more healthier. And if you will eat healthy food, naturally you will grow stronger, your brain will be sharper, isn't it? And if you will munch on all this junk food and all that, your growth will be hampered, you will not grow nicely, and it will be having a negative impact on the brains also. Are you getting my point, students? In between I am just explaining it in such a way so that it's clear to you. Same is the case with manure and fertilizer, right? And if fertilizers are added in excess quantity, it may prove harmful to the soil, right? And the plants can die also. Is it clear, students? Next one. Plants also require a good supply of water. All of you know that water is elixir of light. Elixir means, in Hindi we can say it's Amrit, right? Jal Jeevan hai we say. Why we say Jal Jeevan hai? Because without water, no one can survive. Just one example, if we can't give water to plants, plants will die, right? And animals, herbivores will die. And if herbivores are not there, carnivores will die. And if herbivores and carnivores are not there, automatically omnivores will also die. So it's a chain. Everyone is dependent on each other. So water, the essential thing needed for the survival, right? So plants need good quantity of water also, right, for healthy plants, and sufficient supply of water is provided to the plants by way of irrigation. Now a new term, irrigation. Irrigation means the way of providing supply of water to the plants. The way, right, of providing water to the plants. We can't just go with a bucket full of water and just water the plants. That's not possible. Huge big piece of land. How can we just manage it with a bucket? So there are huge hand pumps. If you have ever been to a village, you must have seen huge pumps over there, water motors and pumps and all that, supplying water through pipes to their huge fields, right? So irrigation is important. Now, next one, crops and soil. All of you know that different plants of cereals, pulses, vegetables and fruits are grown as part of agriculture, right? Agriculture doesn't mean only one thing. It's not only rice and wheat. It's having cereals means all rice, wheat, jawar, bajra, etc. Each and everything, which is the staple diet of Indians. And pulses, all dals, right? Veggies and fruits, all of you are aware about that. So it's a part of agriculture. So a particular kind of plant grown in large numbers by a farmer in a particular season and at a particular place is called a crop. Again I am repeating, a particular kind of plant. It's not always that I want to grow this wheat and whole year I will be able to grow it. No, it has a particular season and a particular place also, a type of soil also. We can't grow everything everywhere. For example, if I will think of growing coconut over here in Greater Noida, do you think it will grow? No, impossible, right? We can't grow coconuts over here because our soil is not fit for the growth of coconut plants, right? So there are two types of crops, students. Rabi crops, and we call it winter crops also, and kharif crops or summer crops. Crops such as gram and wheat are grown from November to April and are called Rabi crops. Right? Our wheat, our UP is having good quantity of wheat crops, right? In our Uttar Pradesh, right? And right now harvesting is going on because wheat grows in winters and rice grows in summers. Am I clear, students? Wheat grows in winters, so we call it Rabi crops. And rice, maize, bajra, it grows in summers. We call it Kharif crops. So crops such as gram and wheat are grown from November to April and are called Rabi crops. Right now harvesting is going on, right? And then they will prepare their soil for Kharif crops and they will sow their maize, bajra and rice over there. Is this clear, students? Now, different crops require different type of soil. The fertile and well irrigated soils of Punjab and UP, Uttar Pradesh, are good for wheat. Punjab and UP. In between, let me explain the word Punjab. You know it's a state. I also know it's a state. But Punjab, Panj means 5 and Ab is a Urdu word meaning water. That means a place having 5 rivers. Punjab. 5 darya wahan behte hain. 5 rivers flow over there. Right? Huge water supply. And our UP is also having good water supply. We have Ganga over here. So wheat requires good water supply. That's why in UP and Punjab, wheat is grown in good quantity. While jawar and bajra grows well in the sandy soils of Rajasthan. Rajasthan is sandy, right? Having scanty rainfall, less rainfall, dearth of water. But these two cereals grow over there, jawar and bajra. That is nature, right? Nature has kept each and every place, right? Each and every crop, every place. Is it clear? Now, jute and rice grows well in the clayey soil of West Bengal. Now let's discuss about our tea, right? Assam, Darjeeling and Nilgiri. They have moist soil which is good for growing tea. In our India, these 3 places are the best places for growing tea. Why so? Why can't we grow tea in Uttar Pradesh? Because in UP we don't have moist soil. It requires moist soil, right? So the soil of the coastal areas of Goa and Kerala is suitable for growing coconuts. That's why I explained it earlier also. If I will think of growing coconut over here, that's impossible because it needs coastal area soil. Coastal means near the seaside, and we don't have any sea around us. So it's impossible to grow coconuts over here. Let me move further, students. Now next is, now our crops are ready. Farmer is happy. Yes, crops are ready. Now, but he has to protect his crops also, isn't it? Because the crops are their livelihood. They're earning. They feed their families with all this, and they feed the whole world, whole country, isn't it? So, we need to protect our crops from animals, birds, insects, and diseases. Sometimes these herbivorous animals, you are aware about herbivorous animals, so they sometimes destroy the fields by grazing them, right? Whenever they feel hungry, and if any crop is there without fencing, they enter the fields and they munch on it, they graze it. So we can keep them away by fencing the fields, right? We can also use scarecrows to protect our crops from birds. I think every farmer is using the scarecrows nowadays. Scarecrows is just some sticks on which they've just put one matka type things, just giving a feeling to the crows to scare them so that they can feel that a person is standing over there, right? And to protect our crops from diseases, we use natural as well as chemical based insecticides and pesticides. Okay, natural pesticides, insecticides, that are okay, that's no problem. But chemical based insecticides and pesticides, little bit they can cause harm to the soil if used excessively. They can prove harmful for the soil. Same way you can understand, chemicals are not good for us, right? They spray these pesticides on the plantation, on your crops. That's why we always say, your parents, your mama, papa must be always saying, whenever you are eating any fruit, wash it first, thoroughly wash it. It's not only during this COVID time we have to wash veggies and fruits. Always it should be a habit to wash vegetables and fruits before eating or cooking. Because farmers, they have to spray because they have to protect their crops. It's not their fault. They are not doing it for fun. They are purchasing the spray from the market, right? To protect their crops from pests, from insects. And it's our duty to wash all those fruits and vegetables before cooking and eating. Isn't it, students? So we ourselves can take care of our health. To keep our crops and vegetables healthy, we must do the following. Proper manure and fertilizers should be used. Good quality health seeds should be sown. Proper quantities of pesticides and insecticides must be used. Crops should be irrigated properly. And all the produced crops should be kept in dry and sealed containers. By following these steps, we can safely fulfill our food requirements. I think I'm properly audible to you and I was able to make you understand this chapter. Is it so, students? Right? This is all about this chapter. Right? Hope you will listen to me thoroughly. Right? Try to understand the chapter. Thank you, dear students. Have a nice day. Stay safe. Stay healthy. That is most important because you are most important. You are really important for us and your health is the first priority. Take care of yourself and your family members. Love you, dear students. Goodbye.